Insecurity is the root of competition. And I think one way to break that is to just choose to not let the competition be there.
Welcome back. It is episode 3 of our series, All Things Relationships. And I am so excited about the next 2 episodes because what we're going to do is we're going to dive into the topic of friendship with guys and friendship with girls. So each episode, we're going to have the same couple of students, and I'll explain why I chose them in just a sec. But we're going to dive into some of the controversial questions like, can you actually be friends with someone of the opposite sex? Like in what circumstances is that okay? When should you just be like, worried about it? And how do you win over a girl? How do you win over a guy if you want to move it from friendship to something a little bit more? So with that, I'm going to start, even though I told everyone in the studio the exact opposite, I'm going to start by introducing our guest, and that is Rachel Annis. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Rachel. Tell them about your role at Bayside.
Yeah, hey, so I'm Rachel Annis. I work at our Bayside Folsom campus. I'm one of our youth pastors in middle school and high school ministry. So I get to work with 6th through 12th grade. All the hormonal teenage years belong to me. It's really fun. I love my students. They're so great. I've been around Bayside almost 3 years. Started at our Granite Bay campus and then moved over to our Folsom campus about a year in. My husband works here as well, so it's really fun to work with him and do projects and things like that. I graduated from Sac State with a degree in interpersonal communication while working here. So that's just a really fancy way of saying I can talk to people. Yeah, and that's it's a good time here at Bayside. I love what I get to do. I love our students, and I'm really thankful to be here.
What's your favorite thing to do with your husband, Taylor, when it's just like you actually have a day off together?
Normally on Saturdays, what we love to do is go to this coffee shop called Sociology in Folsom.
Oh, yes. Everyone loves that one.
It's so good. It's so good. I cannot leave Folsom because of that shop. I will always live in Folsom for that. But we go there, we walk our dog, and we just kind of walk around Sutter Street, which is the old like downtown area in Folsom. And we just walk around and have fun. Normally we'll like work in our yard and garden and stuff like that, and yeah, just spending time together with no plan. Like, I love when there's a day when him and I literally have nothing on the calendar, like no schedules, nowhere to be, just we can be all day.
So good.
Yeah.
I can tell from that very description that you guys have a strong friendship.
We do.
And so maybe we'll dive into that a little bit, even if there was a friendship season or just, I don't even know. I don't even know the Taylor Rachel.
I can tell you our whole story. Yeah. It's really fun.
Okay.
It's
Love
my
it.
favorite story.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I hope so. That's really good to hear. So fun. So in the studio, we also have Cam and Lisette. You can go back to season 1 and get to know them a little bit. They appear on several fun episodes. But the reason I chose you guys was because you are in the most epic friend group. You're just laughing. So like I have a friendship crush on you guys' friendship. Like, is it 5 of you? It's 5 of you, right?
5 of us, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So there's a group of students in Thrive College. You've done the first year together. Now you're going through the second year. And I'm watching you guys' friendship build and unfold over the last year and a half. And it makes me smile, but it also makes me laugh because it is so typical of what it's actually like to be friends with guys, friends with gals, and to mix those two together, like all the glory and sometimes all of the drama. So absolutely love it. So with that, let's start by having Lisette introduce herself and tell us your favorite thing about being part of that friend group.
Absolutely. I'm so honored that we get that title. That's really, I've never heard that.
She's got a crush on us. She said that.
On our friend group.
Not you guys, but your friendship group.
The Matrix.
The Matrix. That's what you guys call yourself.
That is our friend group. It's called The Matrix. Hi, guys. My name is Lisette Cornelius. I am one of 7 sisters, so I have a great deal of dealing with friendships and relationships, but I am a Thrive College student here. This is my second year around, and I hope one day to be a pastor and pour into the next generation of middle schoolers or high schoolers, whatever that looks like, but I just love the church, and I think it's just awesome. Adding to that of this next season, it's been really cool having this friend group that I've never had a friendship like with guys growing up because I was at homeschooler,
Surrounded by too many girls.
Yeah, surrounded by too many girls. So this is definitely new coming into college. I was like, whoa, this is what it's like to have a bunch of guy friends. This is so fun. But I think the thing that is that I love the most about it is that it's centered on Christ. And so we're all here in college, like learning and growing together in our faith. And so it doesn't feel like there's any expectation to be, I don't know, like having to prove ourselves to the friend group, or there's not honestly a lot of drama, at least on my end. I don't know. Cameron might say something differently. But I think it's cool just to be able to call up a friend and be like, hey, guys, we need to bring the gang back together. The other day, Cameron had us over to play basketball and watch the game and do some homework. Didn't get a lot of homework done, but we watched the game. And
Sounds about right.
yeah. And so I think just honestly having that backup, that having the guys in the friend group is super helpful for Macy and I, because it just doesn't bring about drama as easily as a group of a bunch of girlfriends would. So yeah.
Love it.
Great answer. Yeah, I'm Cameron. I'm also a Thrive College student, second year. Glad to be back on the podcast. Thank you, Dina. And
I'm so glad to have you back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I meant to say thank you as well.
It's okay. You don't have to say thank you. I already have a friendship crush on you guys. So.
She's jealous of us.
You're in.
Yeah, the best part about being in this group, she gave a great faith-based answer. I'm going to go a little different direction. I would say, honestly, guys can be really dumb, and we can perceive things in ways that are not true and not what is really happening. And having a couple of girls who are, close to you can really talk to and open up about some stuff, it helps kind of, oh, you know what? Maybe I perceived that, or that happened differently. It's been super helpful for that, and just seeing like a different side of literally every kind of situation you can imagine. Yeah. Guys and girls are just so wildly different, and praise God for making us that way. And it's been the best part about being in this group.
Very cool. Great answers, both of you. All right, so we're gonna kick it over to Cam. You can keep the mic because you already have it. And what's our first question for Rachel? Diving into this topic of what it's like to be friends with guys and gals, but especially since you are a gals.
Yeah, Rachel. So hopefully you can go into your story a little bit with what it was like, maybe being friends with Taylor before marrying. But what is like the most rewarding experience or part of being close friends with a guy?
That's a great question. Well, when I think of like a lot of my guy friends, I think of them as like their brothers, And so I think the most rewarding piece of that is just when I think about it, I see like seeing them achieve like life goals. Because I'm an only child. I don't have siblings. I have siblings now because of Taylor and all of his siblings that he has. He's one of 5. But just growing up, I didn't really know what it was like to have siblings. I have 2 awesome guy cousins that I considered brothers growing up, but they were the siblings I could send home when I got annoyed with them. But we never fought. It was great, and I could just, kick them outside. And I was like, leave my house. I'm done. But I just get so much joy when I see guy friends of mine like just achieve their goals or just have success in their relationships. I just feel like a proud sister. And so I think that's like the most rewarding piece of being friends with a guy, is just seeing them, live their life and watching them grow as humans. And and I hope they would feel the same about me. But I get overjoyed when I see my friends succeed. And so yeah,
you love seeing people just go out there, especially people you care about and love, do what they want to do, and what God has for them. That's really cool. I do want to ask real fast, flip that on its head maybe, and we'll get a little bit into this later, but what has been some of the not most, but like the difficult things of having close friendships with guys? And maybe in your experience, or if you've heard from other people.
That's a great question. So when I think of my friendships with guys now, most of my guy friends are also married or in relationships, and I'm closer with their girlfriend or their wife than I am with them. But I still consider them my friend, because even when you're friends with someone's wife, I still believe, it's important to be friends with their husband, right? Because that if my best friend has a husband, he matters to me just because he matters to her, and I value them as a person as well and want them to be my friend. So I would say in the stage of life I'm in now, I don't know if there's a difficult piece with that, but my mind goes back to a season when I wasn't married or dating, and kind of like fresh out of high school, entering college and things like that. I had some guy friends, and I think the hardest piece of that was just establishing feelings about each other. I think sometimes when you enter guy-girl relationships, I feel like this is where the conversation is going to go at some point. So let's just,
inevitably
just go there. We're going to talk about
they want to hear it.
And this is also following Jesus, Rachel, as well. But just establishing like whether or not this is a friendship that's going to stay a friendship or friendships that's going to progress later on. And in my experience, some of my close guy friends, our relationship ended up ending because I wanted our relationship to stay the same way and they wanted the relationship to progress in a different way. And then when I actually started dating Taylor, I noticed a lot of my guy friends that I had from high school that were just friends eventually kind of fizzled away too. That comes with life and moving on to different colleges and different paths in life or whatever. But even as I started to enter a relationship, I noticed that my guy friends became my guy friends that were either dating my girlfriends or were either already friends with Taylor and stuff like that. So I don't know if that's everyone's experience, but I hope that answers the question.
Oh yeah, that was great. Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was awesome. And you took it where everybody wanted to hear it go, so that was good.
That's so good. I mean, just diving in right into that center of a drama, what do you feel like how do you deal with that? Like, let's say that one person wants the relationship to move into a different zone and then the other person doesn't. I mean, how do you have that conversation? What did that look like for you? Was it a good experience? Did people get hurt?
It was over text.
Oh no! Somebody got hurt.
Someone got hurt. Yeah.
Somebody got hurt.
This was like way before I met Taylor, like a couple years before, still in high school at the time. And I noticed one of my friendships with my guy friends was beginning to progress, and I didn't share the same feelings.
Yeah.
And he had different feelings, which is totally okay, understandable. You know, sometimes relationships progress that way. I think truthfully, I could have handled it better. It should have been something I handled in person. But expressing yourself over text on a weekend is always how it goes in the high school realm, and I think even in the college realm sometimes too. I think I could have handled it better. But being at a place I am now, and if I was not married and dating, and let's say, for example, I had a friend that liked me and I didn't like him back, my hope would be to handle it face to face always, and just to have like a real honest conversation. And I think at the end of the day, if you establish in your friendship first that that no matter what, you just support and care about one another as like Jesus would want you to support and care about one another in a friendship, I think will set you up for success. And hopefully by having Jesus at the center of any friendship, whether it's a girl-girl friendship or a guy-girl friendship, would kind of help best navigate when feelings arise.
Yeah.
I don't know
so
if that
good.
makes full sense,
Yeah.
but that's kind of how I think about it, is without Jesus.
Keep kicking Lisette's.
no.
She's probably like, is
Are
it my
you trying
turn
to
talk?
signal something
No.
to me secretly?
No, just kicking your
I think
foot.
when you have Jesus at the center, it makes the relationship better. Because at the end of the day, even before you're dating your brothers and sisters in Christ, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I love about what you did, I totally agree. Like in person is just a good life principle. Like if you have a hard thing to say, like fight to be in person to say it, because there's just no reading someone's emotions or love for you or even care for you over a text message.
Yeah.
Like, and then you just let your brain run wild about how they were actually feeling. So yeah, I do agree with that. But what I love is that you didn't ghost him. And I feel like that's actually the MO a lot of times, is to just be like, she has not texted me back in a week, and we used to text every day. What's going on?
Yeah.
And so I think overall, one of the principles we could take from what you shared is just that clarity is kindness.
Totally.
And so if you know how you feel in the friendship and you sense that there's just this question hanging over the relationship, it's not a bad thing to just say, hey, I'm sorry if I'm wrong, but I just want to be clear about where I stand in this friendship.
Totally.
And that might be so awkward in the short run, but over the long haul, I think it's kind.
Totally.
Yeah.
And hopefully you can go back and laugh about it later. And
Totally.
that the friendship remains,
Yes,
you know?
100%.
Yeah.
You look like you were going to say something.
I
Kim.
was. That's okay. I was going to say, yeah, I just totally agree with you, no matter how hard it can be, especially when there's deep feelings like this on the line. But honesty is always the best kind of love you can give somebody. So that was really good.
So
Totally.
good. I think it's before we move on to the next question, a bizarre thing that happens is girls, and speak to this if you have sensed that this is true, girls get so offended when guys change who they like. Like, let's say at one point, if within a friend group, one guy likes one of the girls, and then all of a sudden, as often happens, watch the TV show Friends. Like,
My favorite show.
yes, you love it. Okay, I love it as well. And then all of a sudden, like, because you're just hanging out together, the attraction to a different person in the friend group or even outside. And then I think for guys, they're like, that's very normal. That's called
Very normal. Yes.
very normal. That's called being Tuesday and now it's Friday. And then for girls, yeah, we're like so offended by that. We're like,
Well, this is the first I'm hearing of what you just said. I'm
you didn't know for women that
Yeah,
that's
I didn't know
like,
that.
I thought you were going to be in love with me for life.
Yeah.
And I had to like, wow, I'm so
Yeah.
sorry that I hurt your heart and can't
Well,
be
I feel
friends
like
with you
a lot
anymore.
of that comes from the way that they so passionately pursue. Like,
Oh, yes,
I think
that's a
when
good
guys
point.
set their mind on something, it's
They go
you're
hard.
like, okay, they're planning marriage, like most of us,
Yeah.
you know, women think about. And it's like,
Yes.
oh my gosh, he texted me. Okay,
Yeah.
so
We're-
what dress am I
he
gonna
thinks
wear?
I'm his
All things.
soulmate.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
right.
Totally.
And
I
then
think in
he has
this
another
day and age,
soulmate.
it's hard to in this day and age. It's hard to take dating as something that could also just be. I don't want to say this in the wrong way. I think we hear the line "date for marriage" so often, and I think it's so true. You should date for marriage, but I also think that it's. You know, when you meet someone, it's like, hey, let's go on a date. Sure, let's go on a date. Let's just get to know each other.
That's
and if
right.
it doesn't work out, that's okay. And we're just hanging out. We're just,
Yeah.
getting to know like humans being humans. And I think it's hard nowadays to, I don't want to say casually date because I feel like that's the wrong way of saying it, but just going out and meeting new people. And I think it's hard to do that nowadays without thinking like, oh, is this going to go somewhere like 3
Yeah.
weeks from now?
That's right.
Rather than just like letting it be a Friday night, going to dinner and like
Yeah.
saying goodnight,
I love
Yeah.
that. I think that's something girls maybe in friendship can do better is just not adding to the pressure that someone is already feeling like, well, okay, so it seems like he's pursuing you. What do you feel about him? And just sometimes I think we want to talk about relationships because we just want to talk about relationships, not
Totally.
because there's actually something there to talk about.
Totally.
So we can just kind of
That's
like,
the entire
we love
college
love.
experience. It's
Yes.
just talking about it.
Yes.
Nothing's ever going to happen, but
no, but we're a little bored right now and there's no game on. So why not?
100%, yeah.
Okay.
That's
so fun.
funny.
All right, Lisette, what do you got for
Absolutely.
Rachel?
Yeah, that just made me think when you're talking about navigating friendships with guys when they have a girlfriend, or
Yeah.
like you were talking about when they're married and like being friends with the wife or being friends with the other girl. How do you navigate that to where it's not like you're even stepping over toes or nothing like that, but you just genuinely want to get to know him, but there's also that girl on the other line that you're like, I don't want to mess up with that,
Totally.
I don't want to mess with that.
I think so. I feel like there's two avenues to this. There's either your friendship with you're friends with the guy first, and then he gets a girlfriend, or you're he has the girlfriend, and then you become friends, or maybe you become friends with the girl. I think in both situations, either or, to really intentionally be friends with the girl if the guy's dating the girl, just because I think at the end of the day, like that girl for him should be his best friend. It shouldn't be you. It should be the girl that he loves romantically, but I think intentionally being her friend is really important. And then being I think another avenue to answer that question is one way to be a really good friend to both of them is when one of them's like sharing about the other and you're listening, to never like trash the other person. Like if my best friend were to come and be like, my husband, like he didn't do the dishes last night, instead of me being like, oh yeah, like that sucks, like he sucks, like he should be doing the dishes, he should support you, like you are your own woman, like instead of like siding with her, I should be like, oh, maybe there's like a reason he didn't do the dishes. That's such a simple answer, like such a simple example. But when either of them are talking about one another, never like bashing the other side, but always being encouraging, like, oh, hey, like I'm sure there's an explanation for either way. But I think always being intentional with the girlfriend, and then, just being friends with the guy in a way that's supportive of his relationship with her and just his life and his goals and his dreams,
Right, totally.
Sorry, I was a
good.
little all over the place, but
No,
yeah.
that's a great answer. I think that's a very real challenge that people face all the time. It's like, okay, there's this new person in this person's life, or maybe you're the new person in that person's life, and there's just lots of dynamics to navigate.
Totally, for sure.
So I wonder, you've both mentioned, Lisette and Rachel, your friendships with girls. I think there's probably a lot of women listening that are like, whoa, how do you do that? Right? Because for some reason, that doesn't always come naturally for girls to be friends with girls. I think there are some girls that maybe they got that gene and it's easy. But then a lot of people, myself included, would say it's just easier to be friends with guys. Like I find it more natural. So give us some help. How do you actually be friends with a girl if you are a girl?
Do you want me to go first, or would you like
Go
to go
for
first?
it. Yes.
Well, it's funny because we were talking about this a little bit before the podcast too. Growing up, I was always so nervous around boys that I never really became friends with them. So I was always like the girl that was like, yeah, like I'm a girl's girl. I hang out with the girls. I click easy with girls. That's it. Like I did dance, so you're just surrounded by a bunch of girls all the time. But now as an adult, I find myself more often having like less girlfriends and like clicking easier with guys. And I think it's because there is that less pressure. Like I can say like a funny joke, or I can just like be myself more relaxed. And with girls, I think there is that, like we tend to go heart to heart quicker. And so I think sometimes I don't always want to deep dive. But I think as an adult, pursuing friendships with women is really important. I think it's important to empower one another and to love one another and support each other. And so I think it takes more intentionality that I think is so worth it. So like going out to coffee, or even just like trying to do something fun together as girls. I love a good heart to heart. That's my jam. A coffee shop on a Saturday with my girls.
Sociology.
That's what I love. Yes, sociology.
If Taylor can't come.
What?
If Taylor can't come.
If Taylor can't come, it's my girls. And so, but I think it's also important too to incorporate like really just to do fun things together, like going to the beach, or like going shopping, or even just, I don't know, just doing fun things together. So that sometimes a relaxed environment with the girls is always great too. Especially as an adult woman now, finding myself connecting easier with guys sometimes. But be intentional, but also create room for fun.
Do you feel like that intentionality piece can be a real stumbling block? Like if someone's always waiting for the other person to be intentional, like in a guy-girl dynamic, the guys tend to fire off like the invites a little bit more. Right. Let's go do this. And the girls are like, yes. But with girls, there's no one kind of taking that pursuer role.
Totally.
And so you're just both waiting for the other person to be intentional, and then it just never happens.
Yeah. It's kind of funny. My mom and I talk about this a lot.
Yeah.
Growing up, my mom has tons of girlfriends. She has different friends for different areas of life, high school, college, like cool. Childhood friends, things like that. It's really cool. And she loves all her friends really well. But one thing she's always shared with me is that she's like, I'm always the one that plans things. She's like, my friends will go a whole year without like reaching out. That's just adulthood, right?
Yeah.
Life is busy. And my mom's like, I'm always the one reaching out. And I think I've felt that in a lot of my friendships too. I would say right now I have a strong group of girlfriends that pursue me equally as I pursue them. Yeah. But prior to that, in high school, I always found myself being the one to reach out. And kind of what I've had to accept is, it's okay that I'm always the one to reach out. Yeah. I think we long to be pursued so much, and I think that longing is a good longing, but I think if that's longing isn't us, then that longing is also in the other person. And sometimes it shows that you care about the relationship. If sometimes it's just like, if I have to be the one that's always pursuing, that's okay. Yeah, I think it shows love and maturity. And in my experience, I've always learned that, and even my mom's experience too, she would always say, even though I'm the only one that reaches out, even when we hang out, we have a great time. And they clearly wanted to be there. Right. They're not reaching out because they don't want my friendship. They do want my friendship. It's just sometimes some people forget to be intentional, and that's okay. I think we have to give grace for each other when maybe we forget to reach out. And sometimes it takes, I don't want to say being the bigger person, because that kind of sounds like a conflict, but it almost takes like, it's okay to be the one that always reaches out, because that doesn't mean your friends don't want to reach out to you. It just sometimes means that maybe you think of it first, and that's okay.
That's so good.
Yeah. I had something I thought of when you were mentioning that of this past year, I've experienced a friendship that we were very different from each other, and I never knew in a million years that her and I would be best friends. And I think it was because we were so different from each other. And I know that sometimes oftentimes we think like, yes, I am not the planner. I'm not this type of person. So like I will never be. And I thought of that with my friendship with, I'll say Jordy. She's been on this podcast before. I love her so much. She has so many qualities that I never thought I could ever obtain, or just habits that I really admired about her. And I think that's one of the things that drew me to her as a friendship. Is that was something that I valued, is spiritual disciplines and stuff like that. And she was somebody that I was like, man, I really want to learn from you in that area. So I think that is so true, of like, you can definitely kind of acknowledge like, okay, we have our own like roles in the friendship, but also that is one great thing about finding good friendships with girls, is that they can challenge you in ways that you can never even imagine. And I think a lot of times we might have like a conflict with our girlfriend and quote unquote the drama, everybody likes to say, but I think that can steer us away from then having friends with girls, because a lot of times I think that's what happens, is we get hurt by somebody or something happens, and then that's why that person is, okay, guys, they don't have drama, they don't do, this just doesn't happen as often. So they go on that route. But I think that using that to learn from the friendship has been something that I've had to learn so many different times, of like, man, this is not a healthy relationship. This is not a healthy friendship. And so being able to move on and be like, okay, well, I, in a sense, like who I am, I will also attract. And that is so important. If you want a good friendship with a girl who is, man, stretching you and challenging you, but also encouraging, empowering you, then you have to also be that, because Jordy was totally being that for me. And so it encouraged me to, man, okay, I'm gonna get in my word as well. Let's keep each other accountable and stuff like that. So I was just saying, like, on the other end of that too, like, it can also be a really good challenge.
Good opportunity.
Totally.
That's
for
so
sure.
good. I feel like with that, just girls in conflict, man, we just call it quits so easily. And I just always hear about guys that just kind of like punch each other and you're done with the conflict, whatever the version of punch each other is. Like, you hash it out and then you move on. But like girls, we tend to store it in the deep, archives of our heart and kind of judge the future by it. But yeah, I would say any girlfriend I have right now, there's been deep conflict with. Like, I remember one of my great friends, Heidi, she came in and she's like, hey, I just want to let you know that I was really offended by this. And I looked at her, because I've been friends with her for such a long time. And I'm like, I am offended that you're offended by that. And she looked at me like, I don't think that's an option for you to say that. Like, what do you mean you're offended? Like, I'm just sharing my heart. I'm like, yeah, your heart is very bothering me right now. Like, I just think you're wrong about this. And so I just think that that's more real. If girls can get to the place, if we can get to the place, we're just really willing to go through the hard things together and still be there for each other on this other side, we'll see a lot more success.
Absolutely. That even made me think of when you were saying earlier, like, clarity is kind. Like, sometimes I don't think people realize that you actually want to be friends with them. When, you're hanging out with a group of people and you just enjoy their presence and you think that you're all having a good time and like, man, this was so much fun. Like, be intentional about it and say, hey, I really want to be your friend. Like, I'm pretty sure I've said that to multiple people, because then it like triggers in the mind, okay, I want to be more intentional with this. Like, this is something that I do value and I don't want to take this for granted. So, hey, let's get coffee. Let's hang out. Let's make it happen.
Kindergarten. Do you want to be my friend?
Do you want to be my friend?
Yeah, I want to be your friend.
It sounds like all three of us were the type of people that like our parents had to sit us down and be like, here's how you make a friend. And it's like, but we need to go back to those old skills of just walking up to someone and communicating. Exactly.
Absolutely.
Okay, Cam, you listened. You got so much wisdom from
learn a lot
like,
over
this is
here.
what it's like to be a woman.
Pick it up on so many things.
You get the final word. Tell us the last question of the podcast.
I do want to go back actually to this conversation we were just having for all of our guy listeners, and touch on, maybe this is a misconception, but what I've heard from people is that there's an instinctual competitiveness between girls and girls for some reason. And I just want to ask you guys, like, is that true? And if so, why is that a thing? And how does that kind of play out in your friendships? If not, why do you think that is something that's talked about?
It's great.
Me first. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
It's funny, I have like five really close best friends, and I would say in each of those relationships with them, there's zero competitiveness. I don't know if there ever was competitiveness with them, but we've just always connected so easily, and we all see each other's strengths and challenge each other in our weaknesses and things like that. But I think what you're saying, I have seen in girls that weren't close friends yet. I think the closeness of friendships breaks down competition and actually can rid friendships of competition.
Yeah.
But I think it stems from a place of insecurity in girls, like, oh, like her hair's cooler than mine, or oh, she like has a better job than I do, or maybe we do the same job and she's better at it than I am. And I think that it's where insecurity is the root of competition. And I think one way to break that is to just choose to not let the competition be there. Whereas sometimes it's kind of funny. I've interacted with some girls and I'm like, they kind of intimidate me. I'm like, I gotta attribute a lot of this to my mom. My mom is always just like, you just gotta go break the ice yourself, girl. Like sometimes you just gotta be the one to do it. And so in those times where I've encountered a girl, I'm like, I don't know if she likes me. I want to be friends with her. I want us to get along because we're in the same environment all the time. Like, how do I approach this conversation? How do I approach her? How do I get closer? And my mom always says, just go up and say hi and smile, and don't let the competition be there, because the competition's just a word for an invisible thing that we think exists, but it doesn't. And so I think competition can exist between girls. I think it stems from insecurity, but I think it's squashed the moment we say it's not going to have a place. So
good.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the clearest thing I've said.
So
all
good.
day.
That's so good.
It was really well put.
No, absolutely.
8 girls in your family. So anything
girls.
about competition?
Yes, I think similarly, but a little different, is just comparison. Like there's competition and then there's comparison. And it's not that, I hate that you're doing this or hate that you're doing that. It's I love that you're doing this and I love that you're doing that, and I love that you look like that because I want to look like that. And I think growing up in a family of so many girls, it was always, I want my own thing. Everybody wants their own person, their own, what's my niche? What's my thing that I can be known for? And I think that's what ultimately all of us kind of long for. And so when we look at it as, man, they have this and I don't, it's ultimately like, that's always what we think of, is just because they have that doesn't mean that you don't have it also, or that you're not good at that. I think my parents did a really good job with teaching us that we can celebrate one another without feeling insecure or bad about ourselves. It's like, hey, if, they get a gold star, it doesn't mean that you did something wrong. It's like, we want to highlight that person. And we had to do that often in our family because it was like, wait, why did they get that? We didn't. But yeah, I think just really learning that, hey, you can celebrate that person without comparing. It doesn't mean that they don't have something that you don't. And I find when I do have that insecurity, I actually try to make it an effort to point that out in them and tell them, hey, you're beautiful. You look really good today. Like, because that in you just kind of gives you a little bit of humility, I think, and changes your heart towards them, and realize like, hey, we're a team. We're not against each other. And I think there's multiple times that I've told my best friend, like, man, I gotta be honest with you. I'm a little jealous about that. Like, you're just so good at X, Y, Z, or like, you just got game. Like, how do you talk to the boys? How do you talk to the boys? It's true. It's been a real conversation, but that's so good. It's like just calling it what it is and talking to the person about it.
So good.
Yeah.
Does that help solve the mystery?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we can hear the comments, see what they say about it. I think I'm starting to pick up on it a little bit.
Like,
but
I understand women now. I love it.
No,
not even? Okay.
No, a little bit.
We talked about a question before we started rolling. Do you want to ask it, or do you want me to ask it on your behalf?
I don't remember what the question was, Dina.
You gotta ask. You have Rachel Annis here. You gotta ask her how to win over a girl.
Oh, that is so right.
I'm very
Rachel
concerned
Annis.
for you. I want
Thank you.
I want a
I'm
great
glad we're
woman
asking
in
this
your
question.
life. He finds a wife, finds a good
Speaking
thing.
of humility, Rachel Annis, I'll be the first to tell everybody this. I have zero game. I've had a couple girlfriends. I've gotten so lucky. It's been all praise God and luck. So I need to ask you, how do I win over a girl? How do I do romance the right way? Like, just give me all the details.
It sounds like a book. Do romance the right
How do
way.
I do romance right?
By
I think
Rachel Annis.
earlier you're like, how do I romance?
How do I romance?
I was making a slap.
That's so funny. I gotta say, honestly, the most attractive thing in a guy is humor. Like, if you can make the girl laugh, then I think you got it. And I think if you're a guy that struggles with like, I don't know if I'm actually funny, just be you, and if she laughs, you're good.
You're funny.
Like,
Yeah. Funny to the right girl.
according to the right girl, and then just really be friends first. Just always friends first, because at the end of the day,
Favorite advice for a guy.
be friends first.
Don't be afraid of that F word.
Yes.
That F word.
That
Don't be afraid of it.
Whoa! What kind of
that?
podcast
Going down.
is this?
Apparently, mature rating.
They're like, cut
You
that
got to put us 18 plus on
Disclaimer.
this one. Yeah.
If there are children listening.
Oh man, that's so funny. And so many of the marriages and relationships that I've seen succeed, they were friends first without even realizing they had feelings for each other. I see that in my relationship. I see that in so many of my best friends' relationships, and in dating relationships right now that I believe are succeeding are because they were friends first, and over time things progressed and they were like, oh, I think we could be more than friends. So don't be afraid of the F word, the friendship word.
From now on, I will not be afraid of that word.
But I think, just approaching every girl like she's my friend. And if it ever becomes something more, great. And humor, always humor.
I got to get funnier. Got to
I
watch some
guess you
stand
do.
up.
I guess you do. I've seen some comedy of you though, and so don't worry. One day you got it.
Oh, thank you.
Girl
Rachel. I
day
appreciate
for
it. But I will say, just because she does laugh at your jokes doesn't mean
Doesn't
she
mean you're-
likes you. We want to put that disclaimer out there, okay?
Yeah.
Don't get
fair.
it twisted.
That's fair. Yeah. She's like, I'm sorry, but you laughed. You were leading me on.
It's good. You got your foot in the door, maybe
There
something
you
like
go.
that.
It's a strong indication.
Yeah.
She's laughing with you, not at you.
Yeah. Oh man.
That's so good.
There's a
That's so
fine
good.
line.
All right, this is gold advice. I hope you take it and you run with it, and that you walk away just having a better understanding of how to be great friends with a girl. And so we're going to do the flip of this episode in episode 4. So we're going to have Cameron Wells on. That's going to be super fun. Cam and Cameron. We'll have Cam and Lisette
confusing.
back. Not confusing at all. And we're going to ask the question, how do you be friends with a guy? So if you're a gal and you want to be a great friend to a guy, listen to that episode. If you're a guy and you're just like, yeah, tell me how to be better friends with the guys in my life, that's perfect. And then also, if you're listening in and you're like, yeah, now I too have a friendship crush on the Matrix gang. How do I get around people like this? Apply to Thrive College. Like, I mean that so seriously. We are looking for people that love Jesus and are looking to risk real relationship, what Cam and Lisette and their friend group do so well. So if you're interested, go to mythrivecollege.com/apply, and we'd love to have you join us next year. With that, that's season 3. I was going to say that's a wrap on season 3, but we're like halfway done. That is episode 3 of season 3. We'll see you back for episode 4.